Almost everybody has this experience of being stuck. So we say it so often. I'm not even sure anymore if we really understand what it means, right? And if you could ask the average person, like, hey, what's going on with you? Like, hey, how's life going? Like you're gonna get a lot of times you're gonna get a response of like, oh, I'm stuck with this, or I feel like I can't make a change. So I mean, it's such a common human experience that we just we kind of take it for granted, and we think that it's actually real. And I'm going to talk today about what this phenomenon is about being stuck, what it is, what it isn't, and then some things that you can do to get yourself unstuck so that you can have a better understanding of what happens for you when that comes up and what you can do about it. And here's the thing, you're not actually stuck. This sensation of being stuck, or the thought processes that lead to that experience, is just a trauma response. So when I say that I'm stuck, it's actually a mental projection. It's not actually happening. But the more that I label it as real, the more that I give it energy or power, the more that it's going to seem real. Nobody wants to be stuck. But when we say that we are, when we put ourselves into that place, we don't understand that there's a part of us that does want to be stuck. And of course, you're going to hear that probably and think, there's no way. I don't want to be stuck. Like, why would I even think that there would be a possibility that that would be a reality for me? And so it's not that the felt experience of being stuck isn't real. It's more like, from the mind's perspective, if I can be stuck, then I don't have to deal with the uncomfortable state of change, taking risk, failing, and that freeze that we get into is actually much more desired by the analytical mind, because then it can perceive that there's a problem to work on. So if the mind is creating a projection of being stuck, then it's got a problem to solve. From its perspective, it's the one that started and created the problem to begin with. When we're looking for solutions to get away from being stuck, our mind is going to have to attach to the external. So it's going to have to look at something outside of me, or some result of some circumstance or desired result of something to change. And so from its perspective, it's going to focus on, how can I get the new thing or see something new manifest so that it then will result in or equate to me not being stuck. And the mind is always going to look to the outside. It's always going to attach to external results or some type of external information to show you that, oh, I'm no longer where I am, or was rather, and so then therefore I'm not stuck. But it's all an illusion. It's not actually how it happens, and it's not actually real, and I'll explain why. The real reason is because when you actually get unstuck, what you actually do is you are entering into a new state of consciousness, or a different state of consciousness that you were holding in your mind when you were stuck, right? So it's not like anything's actually changed on the outside, because life in the world just do what they normally do. It's that something in you has changed perspective on how you're perceiving your external environment. As long as I'm looking at something outside of me to change, or to in some ways give me permission to be unstuck, or to prove to me that I've moved past this state of being stuck, or however I would define it, then I'm going to remain in that space. So there's a lot of counterintuitive nature to this mental phenomenon that we experience. And as long as I am attached to something, whatever it is changing, that's not me, then I'm going to remain in this place. And again, to the mind, that's not a problem, because what it wants and what it desires is more mental activity and problems to deal with. The mind is creating the problem so that it can be handed to itself to try to deal with. And if that sounds crazy, it is. It's almost to the definition of being insane because you're not in rational thinking. When I say that I'm stuck, what I'm actually saying is I'm not in a state of presence. So I'm locked into mental activity. If you are present in the moment, you're not stuck, right? If your mind is focused, and this is what the mind does, so it's focused on past and future, yeah, you can be stuck from the mind's perspective there. What I'm actually desiring is to be in the state of flow. What I'm actually desiring is to be in the state of the present moment. I'm actually not wanting to get unstuck because once I acknowledge or I give that mental activity energy, then all my focus is on getting unstuck. But you were never stuck to begin with. So what we need to acknowledge the fact that what I really want isn't something that isn't even happening anyway. What I really want is to be in the flow state. I want to be present. I want to be in the present moment. I want to be focused on what's happening in the here and now. So how do we get into a flow state? How do we get into the present moment? And the essence of a flow state is, it's actually really hard to get into in and of itself because you are in such a place that like space and time don't even exist. And so we may get there, but we may not be able to. It's one of those things where it either happens or it doesn't. You can't force yourself into it. But what we can do is help bring that on potentially just by being present. So we can focus on ways of being present. And one of the ways that we want to be present is just by doing something that we enjoy or something that we want to do to create relaxation. And when we are in that state of being, we're not going to be stuck. Like it's impossible because again, being stuck is mental activity. So when you're quieting the mind, you're no longer in that place where you can even conceive being stuck. Now, you can pull yourself out of it if you want to and say, oh yeah, I just remembered like my life isn't going anywhere, or that thing at work, or my relationship. Yeah, then you'll be back in that mental activity of being stuck. But for the present moment, while you're in that present moment, you're not from the mind's perspective, right? So anything that we do that's fun is going to bring us in the present moment. Anything that we enjoy, anything to relax the mind. There's a reason why most people have experienced these things called shower thoughts. So when we're in the shower and we're relaxed, right, or we're in the flow of activity of just the normal day-to-day routine of taking a shower, right, like you're going to have intuitive thoughts come to you because you're not busy with mental activity. Now, what happens with those thoughts? The ones that we remember when we're doing something like, we're in the shower and we're having those thoughts, is we look back on them like, oh yeah, the thought just came to me and it helped me. It raised my awareness, or it brought me to a new level of conscious awareness. And sometimes you can even solve a problem from that space. So that's just a really good reference point to understand when the mind is relaxed, that's when you're going to be the most receptive into getting information into your conscious awareness that you can actually put into practice. Staying in the mindset that we are present, or that we aren't stuck to begin with, like that we are free, in essence, is difficult to stay in perpetuity. What is the mechanism that's causing us to come out of that state of presence and into things like doubt, any type of negative thinking, thoughts that create resistance? Because remember, the state of being stuck that our mind has created is all about mental thought. It's all about mental activity, right? So we want to be able to notice the thoughts that are creating resistance to us staying in the present moment and are pulling us away from being in that state of potential flow, if not just clear-minded and with clear conscience, so that we can make the best decisions for us, right? So another part of this practice or activity could be, you could just document the things that are going on in your mind that are negative. Write down put into some type of form. I use voice notes. I also write down pen and paper as well. And then I have my note app on my phone. But you can document these things so that you understand the mind's, in a way, like it's playbook, it's protocol for trying to get you to be pulled out of the present moment. And so when I can understand kind of the measure and countermeasure dance of what's going on, hey, my intention is to be unstuck, but my mind wants to keep me stuck. Now I can start to notice those tactics the mind uses and start to build up a much healthier strategy in terms of how do I really want to look at this, and then also how am I not in reality in terms of my thinking, and that my perceived reality of being stuck is not even true to begin with. You can drop a link in the comments, let me know what your experiences are of being stuck and how you're able to get unstuck. Also, you can find a link in the description to find more about what I do. My name is John. I'm a coach, a psychotherapist for 15 years, and I do help people get unstuck. Hope you enjoyed that. Talk to you soon.